Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday morning to you all. Hope you guys are waking up and having a wonderful start to your day and a great beginning to your new weekend out there so far. There is a lot of information to cover in this morning's video as we have a severe weather threat for a pretty large area of the southern tier of the country for today into tonight. So this is going to pretty much take most of our focus for this morning's video. So the first thing we'll go over is the latest from the Storm Prediction Center, and as always, I'd like to reiterate this. Some of this information is likely going to change on the next update per the Storm Prediction Center here in about an hour and a half or so, and I will pin the update in the comments when we get that if there's any significant changes to it. But we'll go over this information, and then we'll give you guys a state-by-state breakdown of how this could unfold. So if you're looking for your specific state, there will be a timestamp up for it. For example, if you just want to hear about Alabama or Mississippi, there'll be a timestamp up for that, or the Carolinas, there'll be a timestamp for that. Then we'll talk a little bit about the ingredients driving today's setup. We'll speak a little bit also on tomorrow and Monday's severe weather outlook, but we're not going to get super detailed on that because we really just need to focus in on today's event. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it, and if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Stay tuned for the end of the video. If you want to get in the Bible with us, we'll do a little devotion, read some scripture, and go over it. So let's get rocking and rolling. So this is the latest from the Storm Prediction Center. If you watched last night's video, we talked about how they upgraded from a slight to an enhanced risk area for areas of Alabama and Mississippi. I kind of threw a bone out there that I thought that they would extend this a little bit further west into Arkansas, and it looks like that's what they ended up doing. They were seeing it just like I was, but they wanted to wait until probably more confidence came into play. But there's a really nasty line of storms working its way through Oklahoma once again right now, moving into Arkansas, and this will likely intensify. And I think that's why they extended this enhanced risk back into the state of Arkansas, even sections of Oklahoma for over the next few hours. And then all the southern tier of southern sections of Tennessee now has an enhanced risk, and the enhanced risk is also extended down into Atlanta now. So slight risk level 2 out of 5. Not enhanced risk, by the way, is in the orange. Slight risk goes from Texas, portions of Oklahoma, all the way through the Carolinas, all the way up into the Tidewater here in Virginia. So there's a marginal risk around that. So what's driving it? It's a damaging wind threat. If you live in this red area, that is a 30% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. If you live in that yellow area, that is a 15% risk of that. Now, I know that these graphics don't show every single town and city, but it shows some of the larger, more highly populated areas. But hopefully you know where you are on a map, on your state. Believe it or not, it's not a knock on anybody. I always like to say this, but there's a lot of people that cannot point to the general area they are on a map. So hopefully you know that's very important when we're breaking down the weather. It could actually save your life knowing where you are. But this is the wind outlook, really what's driving today's setup. And normally what drives early summer and really summer type setups, which is what this is. The hail threat shifted a little bit further, kind of I would say right in the middle of today's event. If you live in that yellow area, that is a 15% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. So the tornado threat, I could see this going up another category. I could also see the 2% risk extending a little bit further north up into Missouri. But as of right now, if you live in the green area, that is a 2% risk of a tornado. Now, this setup favors more so complexes of storms, what we call mesoscale convective systems. Wind threat and even hail threat is normally the big risk with these type setups, but you get embedded tornadoes. And in fact, at least when I checked about 45 minutes ago, we had ongoing tornado warnings in Oklahoma embedded in a line of storms, just like we did yesterday morning. So let's give you a breakdown here. Now, let's start to break down Oklahoma. So we'll work our way west to east. So if you're not paying attention to timestamps, just know we're going to work to our western states and then eventually into our eastern states. So like I said, if you really just want to hear about your state, utilize those timestamps, folks. I know my videos can be very long. But start off 8 a.m. Her model is picking up on these storms. Time frame is up here. These will continue to impact Oklahoma. And then as we start to make our way into, say, 2 p.m., things should begin to kind of die out a little bit. and we start to make it into 4, 5, 6. It honestly doesn't show much after lunchtime in Oklahoma. Now, we could get some energy, like you see this supercell here in the panhandle of Texas that could get going, and that could do something tricky out here, but it shows it weakening pretty fast. And as we get into the overnight hours, some more storms could develop in southeast areas of the state. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and then we start to get into 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and I would just watch some storms after midnight in the southeast portion of Oklahoma. So Oklahoma itself does not look that bad. The worst weather is happening right now, I would say. And not sure what happened with our Texas panel. Here it is. Got a little bit mixed up here. So starting off around 10 a.m. this morning, we make our way to about midday. This is 1 p.m., 2 p.m., some storm action possible in northeast areas of the state of Texas. Mary, be mindful of this. Doesn't show a whole lot. But listen, models are going to struggle. Does the energy that's up in Oklahoma right now sort of hang together and sweep across northeastern areas of Texas? It could absolutely do that. But 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., I would watch some intense thunderstorms out near Abilene, San Angelo, and everywhere in between. When we broke this down yesterday, the model showed something similar. But we could get some very strong to severe storms dancing around out here, well west of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And then as we start to make it into after midnight, 3, 4, 5 o'clock, we could get some intense thunderstorms in northeast Texas. I'm talking about near like the Arklatex, Texarkana, maybe close to Paris, but maybe even further east than that. And some of this energy will try to sneak into Louisiana later. So, man, I got my time frames all mixed up. I apologize, guys. I think I got my just timestamps a little mixed up here. And let me see if I can fix it all. Man, we are everywhere. Where is Missouri? Where are you at, Missouri? We'll do this on the fly. We're just going to keep winging it. I got you covered. But Louisiana, what are we looking at here? 8 a.m. this morning, not a whole lot going on. Now, we'll have to watch as we start to get it into about midday. Some of that energy make it all the way down to northern Louisiana from Arkansas as we get in the early afternoon, maybe, but mainly just pop-up stuff, nothing too crazy. This is 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., nothing really going on. Then we take it after midnight, and then we could get some thunderstorms in the northern areas of the state. It doesn't show very widespread activity in the state of Louisiana. Now, as we're getting into tomorrow morning, areas of storms could make it into the northern parishes of the state. But outside of that, it doesn't show much, I would say. But Arkansas, this is where the severe weather threat has increased. Okay, we got storms beginning to move into the state now, already there pretty much. So we're taking it into about 10 a.m., shows storms beginning to intensify as they make it through central Arkansas. It's around 11 a.m. You got storms in the northeastern portion of the state, and you got this kind of line of storms moving across the central area. So Conway, Big Springs, Little Rock, storms late morning, midday, and then these continue to sink southeastward. Now, listen, this is where I think model guidance is going to struggle. It shows this line of storms sort of breaking apart. For example, this is 2 p.m., doesn't show much from Pine Bluff, El Dorado, and just down here, but there could very well be an intense line of storms down here. Just doesn't show much on this particular run. And then we start to get to 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11. It doesn't really show a whole lot going on. Finally shows some more widespread thunderstorm activity around 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning in the southern areas of Arkansas, and it could get loud here. And this might wake you up for your Sunday morning early before the sun even rises down here. We could get a widespread thunderstorm activity in the southern half of the state of Arkansas. But this is the thing that the models could fail at. And that is, I'm trying to back this up here, this line of storms that'll make its way across areas of Arkansas. And I'm actually going to do something here on the fly. I don't think it's going to allow me to pull it up. Let's see here. It is, so we're good to go. If you look at the radar right now in this area, storms are already, I think the HRRR model is doing very well. It shows intense storms right here, intense storms right here, and this is as of around 7 o'clock or so, Arkansas time. So this line of storms is going to continue to make its way through. Okay, and the herd model has this line of storms weakening dramatically as we get into midday, early afternoon. But it is loud right now in areas of Arkansas. So now let's go on and get back off this, and we're going to switch it to this, and we're actually going to go up and look at Missouri. And just bear with me. I had my timestamps, and not my timestamps, but my panels a little bit mixed up here. So you get to see how I pull up everything. So a little extra bonus here. But Missouri is a state where it's kind of odd to me that they actually decrease the severe weather threat, and I'm not sure why. But as we get to about midday, some storms could form from the Kansas City to the Columbia corridor, and I really think there could be a sneaky tornado threat up here. And I was thinking about not even showing Missouri, but I would really watch out here in the central sections of the state. I think we could get something sneaky, obviously a risk of severe weather, but we could get a tornado threat up here. Just some areas of storms is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then we get after midnight and things don't look very active. But, we back it up here. Midday, some storms do begin to develop in the central areas of Missouri and could just sweep eastward. And you see some of these areas that have like that circle and it indicates more intense updrafts could produce some severe weather for sure. So now let's drop it down into, and there's Missouri. Gosh, we were everywhere in this video. Some videos are going to be like this, folks. But let's look at Alabama and Mississippi. And we're going to have to fast forward this in time. This is around 4 o'clock earlier this morning. But this is an area that could get 2 rounds, actually, of strong to severe storms. So we'll take it to about midday. Some storms could begin to enter the northern areas of Mississippi. We get to about 3 p.m. First round of storms. And I'm telling you, this could be intense. This line of storms up here will be working its way through a very unstable environment. Could have wind-driven hail. Damaging winds will be the biggest threat. This line of storms could very well extend a little bit further south than what this is showing. But Tupelo at the Florence, eventually Huntsville, 3 p.m., getting hit very hard. And this will continue 4 p.m., 5 p.m., Birmingham down to Tuscaloosa. And listen, this line of storms could very well stretch down to Meridian. This is 5 p.m. this afternoon. This line will be working its way through a very hot and unstable environment. I mean, it'll be one heck of a line of storms, I think. That's why you have the enhanced risk. But 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., another area of storms could develop almost in the same area. Like just a few hours later, and then this line of storms could sort of dance around in northern areas of Alabama and Mississippi. 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. This will sort of sink southward, get a little bit further south than the first round of storms early this afternoon. And this could definitely wake you guys up in the wee hours of the morning across central Mississippi, central Alabama. Damaging winds, hail, and there will even be a tornado threat, especially with this first line of storms right here. I want to watch a more elevated risk of tornadoes with this first line of storms in northern Alabama, northern Mississippi, early to mid, even late afternoon. And eventually this will hit Atlanta this evening. So, and here, we'll do this first. Let's look at Kentucky and Tennessee, and then we'll take a look at what some of the parameters are showing as far as winds. But let's look at Kentucky and Tennessee. This is a tough one to figure out because we're going to get what's moving into Arkansas, eventually into western sections of Tennessee this afternoon. So this is 1 p.m. We got some intense thunderstorms near Memphis, western areas of the state. Do we get sort of a cool, stable pool of air that works its way across middle Tennessee? It's possible. We show maybe some thunderstorms south of Cincinnati. More so just rain showing up on this run around 4, 5, 6 p.m. In Kentucky. But, as we make our way through 6 p.m., this is the area that I would say here, southern counties of Tennessee. Doesn't look that bad, but the northern area of this area of storms in Alabama and Mississippi could up into southern areas of Tennessee, the Cumberland Plats, everywhere in between. This could be more intense than what this is indicating. Chattanooga shows, I would watch out Chattanooga late this afternoon, closer to dinner time, could get one heck of a line of storms. And Nashville could too. It just shows Nashville being kind of stuck in the stable air mass, not getting a whole lot. But you see the thunderstorms up in southern Indiana, southern Illinois. These could hit severe limits too. Show some storms sneaking in the southern areas of Ohio. And then we have to watch later tonight. Could get an additional round of thunderstorms that makes its way into western Kentucky. But it shows these weakening pretty fast and just some more downpours dancing around across Kentucky overnight. But, you know, I do want to look at this really quick. And let's look first at areas of the deep south. And we'll probably just keep it at this. This is where our highest risk of severe weather will be. This is the updraft Felicity swath. And it indicates the strongest updrafts in these clusters of storms moving out of Arkansas into northern Mississippi, northern Alabama. You see these highlighted colored areas. This is where we could have our most intense updrafts, intense thunderstorms. Now, if we look at surface winds, and the HRRR model don't always do the best with this, but it indicates a damaging line of storms, wind risk-wise, sweeping across northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, and then look at Georgia, which we'll break down here in a second. I'll take a closer look at Georgia. It shows just no wonder why they moved the enhanced risk into Georgia. But it shows Tennessee mostly missing some of the worst of the winds, but that does not necessarily mean that doesn't mean that's not going to happen. Or that's what I'm trying. I always get my words mixed up. That does not mean that you guys won't get any severe weather or severe wind gusts. So, moving forward here, already talked about this. Man, we are everywhere. And we'll go on and break down Virginia and North Carolina. So starting off this morning, not a whole lot going on. And we take it into about midday, could get some showers. And then we start to get into about the afternoon hours, around 3 p.m. We got some thunderstorms kind of between Hickory, Greensboro, up to Roanoke. There is a secondary elevated area of severe weather potential to watch out for, and that is southeastern Virginia and eastern North Carolina. You see these cells here? There is a 2% risk of a tornado. Last time I checked, there was. Actually, I think that they might have dropped the 2% risk of a tornado. Yeah, they did. So they dropped the 2% risk of a tornado that was over here. So they've actually decreased the tornado threat for this region. So that's good. But we're probably going to get some intense thunderstorms in eastern North Carolina, southeast Virginia. And just because they dropped off the 2% risk of a tornado, you can still get a sneaky tornado, but damaging winds, some small hail possible with these clusters of storms. This is 10 p.m. Could be a very active beach evening in the beaches of North Carolina and southeast Virginia. And then we have to watch some energy in South Carolina, but it looks like more of a Georgia, South Carolina thing, but very well could stretch into North Carolina. And then we start to take it into tomorrow morning, could wake up to some thunderstorms in certain areas. But, leaving this off with Georgia and South Carolina, this is another, and this, I live in central South Carolina. I know I probably have some of my most viewers in this area. This is a tricky area. I'm going to start off around lunchtime. I don't expect a whole lot except a lot of intense heat and humidity building. So if you want to go out and mow your grass, I'm going to do it right after this video. I would go out and do it now because it's already hot enough right now. But 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m., some storms could form in southern Georgia. The main show begins to enter the picture later this afternoon to this evening. You see Rome, Atlanta, over there on this side of your screen. Intense line of storms begins to make its way into the northern half of Georgia. We get scattered, isolated stuff in southern Georgia, really just driven off a lot of heat and humidity. Same thing with the low country of South Carolina. Could get storms developing. How intact will this line of storms remain in Georgia into the western and central areas of South Carolina? It's around 10 p.m. And I could see this line of storms hanging tough a little bit more than what's being modeled. But right now, has this line of storms making it across Georgia? This is 11 p.m. into the Midlands of South Carolina. It's around midnight. Shows my neck of the woods getting hit by a line of storms. Shows storms stretching down into southeast Georgia and then making it all the way to the Carolina coastline before weakening. And then some more storms could develop in northern Georgia in the wee hours of the morning. And we could be waking up tomorrow morning to a line of storms sinking south across central Georgia. But it's a tough one to figure out. Now, I will take a closer look at what, let's look at some of the wind speeds across Georgia. Sorry about the sloppiness of this video and just not having my panels together really well, but So I'll just try to avoid pulling up as many tabs as possible sometimes. But you see how it picks up on this line of storms later this evening in Georgia? And I know there's weird gaps here, but this is because this is in 1 hour intervals. But even as this storm weakens, this line of storm weakens, it still wants to produce 40, 50 mile per hour wind gusts later tonight in South Carolina. But I mean, it's an eyesore on your map here. It clearly shows a line of storms stretching all the way into Georgia and South Carolina. So what's driving this setup? A lot of heat, humidity, and then flow in the upper levels of the atmosphere. So we'll start off. We're not going to hang on this too long. This is around here in the next couple hours. The Euro showing dew points deep into the 70s. You got tropical, rich moisture at the surface across the deep south, mid-south, and the Carolinas. So it's very hot. It's very humid. It's soupy outside. Get your baby powder ready because there's going to be sweat in areas you don't want them to be. Okay? Because of all this humidity, the CAPE values are already spiking. Just mixed layer CAPE over 2,000 joules per kilogram, already by mid to late morning across the south. So a lot of energy already building. Okay, and this is around 15Z, mid to late morning this morning. So the next thing you look at is flow. Big pulse of flow right here at around early afternoon. 50 to 60 knots of mid-level flow. And this sinks all the way into the Carolinas and Georgia. So this will drive a damaging line of storms or multiple ones across this area because this flow is overlapping a very rich, moist air mass. So it's as simple as that. There's no point in getting overly detailed on it. There really isn't because it's a simple outlook as far as ingredients. Now, talking about the Northeast, you guys are waking up to some activity, and we're probably going to get some thunderstorms and just heavy rain. Unfortunately, it's going to be a wet start to your weekend. So taking it about midday, early afternoon, could get some thunderstorms from southern New York into the southern New England, across Vermont, New Hampshire, up into Maine. We'll have to deal with this throughout the evening hours, and then eventually overnight, things will calm down, and we have to watch to see if any energy will greet us in Ohio, PA, West Virginia, Maryland, and Northern Virginia for tomorrow morning as we have the leftovers of what's surging in from the southwest. The north central U.S., and I know I skipped the south central U.S., but I've already pretty much covered it with the severe weather threat, but we're going to have some thunderstorms possible up here in Iowa, but you're lacking true thermodynamics up here, but you could still get a strong to severe storm. And then we got some thunderstorms trying to move across areas of the eastern Dakotas, and there is a risk of severe weather up here, so just be aware if you live in the eastern Dakotas. Could have a line of storms later this afternoon to this evening. And then this energy could actually intensify in the northern half of Minnesota in the middle of the night tonight. And you actually could wake up tomorrow morning to a sweeping line of thunder showers or thunderstorms or just some heavy rain across northern Wisconsin and to the eastern UP for tomorrow. And just waking up to some showers in Nebraska, up into North Dakota, northwest Minnesota. Western U.S., quiet start to your morning, quiet day, pop-up showers possible, in the southern Rockies, southwest. But outside of that, man, there ain't a whole lot going on out west. Temperatures going to be pretty hot, soupy, one of your hottest days of the year so far across the deep south when you combine the heat and humidity together. 80s and 90s, which doesn't sound that bad, but, this will be one of the hottest days of the summer. You just go out around 1 to 2 o'clock this afternoon. You'll take my word for it then. But the Northeast, 60s and 70s, not too bad at all. And then the middle of the country up here, just nice late spring type stuff. And then the Western U.S., pretty warm just about everywhere. But speaking on the severe weather days to come, we're not going to slow down, guys. We have an enhanced risk strung out across areas of northern Texas and the southern half of Oklahoma. Excuse me, guys. Sorry. Thank y'all. And also into southwestern areas of Arkansas and a very small section of the northwestern corner of Louisiana. Slight risk extends all the way up into sections of Iowa and Illinois. Tomorrow's just going to be another big day, Sunday. And then we got a level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather across the southeast up into the mid-Atlantic. And right now, tornado threat is at a 5% risk. And then we have a secondary tornado threat, 2% risk up here in the mid-Atlantic. And then the wind threat and the red, 30% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. And then the yellow is a 15% risk of that in the blackout line region. That is a 10% risk of winds exceeding 65, 70, 75, 80 miles per hour. So it is going to be a big severe weather threat across this area of the country tomorrow. But we're also going to be dealing with severe weather across Georgia, the Carolinas, up into the mid-Atlantic for tomorrow. Wind threat is at a 15% risk here of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. And the hail threat will be significant in this area too. 30% risk of hail exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger in the red area. Yellow area is a 15% risk of that. And if we just make this a little bit larger, if you live in that black outlined area, 10% risk of significant sized hail, 2 inch in diameter or larger. So like I said, it is going to be a big day of severe weather for your Sunday across areas of Oklahoma and Texas. And then we take a look at day 3. Severe weather really positions itself for Monday across the deep south and southeast. A slight risk up for all the deep south and southeast states, at least portions of them. And right now we just know there's a 15% risk of severe weather within 25 miles in any given location. So it's going to remain active, guys. I mean, nothing about this screams tornado outbreak, but it screams just complexes of storms. So let's move it back to here and have kind of just a timestamp point. We're going to do a little Bible devotion. It's 8:11. This video is not going to end up dropping till about 8:45, so I apologize ahead of time. But the weekends I normally get a later start. But this morning we're in Proverbs. We're probably going to be in Proverbs over the next few devotions. I've already found a couple other parts of Scripture that I like after this one. So this morning, though, Proverbs chapter 24, verse 17. And it says, "Don't gloat when your enemy falls, and don't let your heart rejoice when he stumbles." And I'm going to go to verse 18. "Or the Lord will see, be displeased, and turn his wrath away from him." So don't gloat when your enemy falls, and don't let your heart rejoice when he stumbles, or the Lord will see, he be displeased and turn his wrath away from him. So I wrote down a couple things, and then I'll speak on a couple things like I normally do. And I said, try with everything you got not to be happy when your enemy falls. That's tough. Of course, someone who just constantly gives you a hard time, does sometimes smaller bad things to you or just awful things to you. It's hard to not kind of give an attitude like, yep, it's karma, that's what you get. Just, the Bible, God calls us not to be like that. And then I also said, that touches on that, I said, we are called to have a higher standard of love. And what better way to show that than a situation where someone is your enemy and they fall and you choose to extend a hand instead of rejoice in their downfall. And also said they suffer the same, just in different ways than we do. Okay. So what I mean by that is, everybody is struggling with something. And chances are someone that you might call your enemy, and I don't even try to really use that word much, but someone that you would consider an enemy that just gives you a hard time, listen, they're going through something. And they're choosing to handle it in a way that they're not supposed to handle it. And listen, I mean, sometimes it could be small. We all handle stuff sometimes in ways we shouldn't. For example, when I get overwhelmed, I tend to be a tough person to deal with. And my wife will tell you, I'm not a terrible husband. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just being real with you guys. But I can be a pain to deal with sometimes because I kind of get in my moods and I'm down, and it's hard to shake it. And my wife is awesome. She's my rock. She certainly helps me through those times. But sometimes I just it's hard to encourage me when I get like that. So that's an example. That's not of a way that I struggle, and a way that I can take it out on somebody else. And that's kind of just a smaller scale version of that. We're all, we all do stuff like that, but that's something that I'm working on more than ever, and I'm better at more than ever. I was really bad about it when I used to work 2 jobs, and I just didn't have the patience and the strength, and I was always tired, and I let that be my excuse to sometimes, treat people the way that they didn't deserve to be treated. And I know I'm making myself out to look like some terrible person. It really wasn't that bad. Like, I don't want you guys to think that I'm making myself out to be a horrible person. I'm just keeping it real with you guys. But I'm getting off track here. I always do that with these Bible scriptures. But what I'm saying is this. Everybody is struggling with something. And sometimes, a lot of times, your enemies, they don't know how to handle it. So the only way they can handle it is to treat others like crap, bad. So what I've learned over time is that I've kind of just have learned to feel bad for them, and not in a sarcastic way, but in a genuine, like, man, this person is really going through something to do these outrageous things to people. And it goes back to something that I always say when we have this Bible devotion time. Everything connects. It is wild. And I know when you hear that, you might hear me say that, and you might think it just might go one ear out the other. You're not thinking much on it, but really think about it. Everything connects. What someone goes through connects, maybe at a younger age, connects to their personality, maybe at an older age. And sometimes that what they change into might not be a good version of themselves. So, to kind of round this back around to Scripture, if anything, reach out a hand to these people. They need help, and pray for them. Like I've said many times, don't just shoot off the hip when you're mad at somebody or they're taking shots at you. And don't just say, hey, I'll pray for you. I'll pray for you. But really, you're saying it sarcastically, and you know what I'm talking about because I've done it. Be genuine with that. Really sit down and pray for them because they're struggling with something. I really believe that everything connects. So whatever they're struggling with is connected to something deep rooted that they haven't yet overcome, if that makes any sense. God bless all y'all. Stay safe today. I apologize for this video getting out a lot later than I wanted it to. It's 8:17, man. I need to just end this. But y'all have a wonderful day, and stay safe with the severe weather. Take it serious, and I'll talk to you again in the next video. God bless.